You guys are in for a treat. Now today's session talks about competitive strategy. And you are very, very lucky because the person giving you competitive strategy has done so for several years. He is a graduate and former staff member of the Wharton School of Business in the US. His first, let's say, his first kind of experience in the Middle East was with the American University in Cairo, where he worked in development and planning for the university with their IT sector. His first experience in Palestine was with the Najad Zaini Center of Excellence with Ibrahim Abu Qtaish. Some of you know this person, or some of you may have heard of his company, 8bits, which was recently funded and was part of the Microsoft Accelerator. Not only has he done that, he's also a principal of Sadara, which is the first Palestinian venture capital fund, which had a fund of about $30 million way back when they were making good investments. Taylor's also, this was before he got there. So, Taylor also is one of the first people that founded Business Education for Entrepreneurs, or the B program, which was the first program that emphasized on education, not training, which is something very important. In addition to that, that program became EZU, right? EZOM University. And now, he's also one of the co-founders of Start Me Up, which is one of the first volunteer-based initiatives in Palestine. So no donor funding or anything like that. So I'm giving the floor to someone with a boatload of experience. You guys are going to have an amazing, amazing opportunity to draw on his experience as well. I give the floor to the illustrious, the experienced Taylor Moore.
Nice to meet all of you. Thanks so much, Omar. I'm really excited to talk about competitive strategy. It is a topic I really love, and although it can be abstract, I am going to work hard in this session to make it as practical as possible. I think it's the most important topic that you can learn in business because it's universal to all businesses. Whether you're selling hot dogs or building Facebook, competitive strategy is really important to you. People do entire master's degrees or doctorates in this very topic, which I'll explain in 60 minutes. So this is a really, really short introduction to competitive strategy, but hopefully it'll make you interested enough to want to learn more. And the materials that I send to you, there are some really great resources that are accessible. They're not very abstract. So I really recommend, if this is interesting to you, that you read more about those. But before we dive in, so the agenda, I want to talk a little bit about how the course so far. We have some updates. Then I'll do what is competitive advantage. We'll do an example. It'll be a fun example. And then the floor is to you for you to present your Porter's 5 forces analysis for each of your projects. I'll give feedback on those. Well, you'll give feedback to each other on those. I hope you all prepared them, because that's 30 minutes of a session. Not yet. Thanks, though. Like, maybe 5 more minutes.
Okay.
I'll tell you. Okay, so a few things about Start Me Up the course. So we're changing some of those, because of the holidays that we didn't account for. Sessions will continue to be on Sundays and Wednesdays until the 5th. And then we have a holiday. We won't have class on the 5th or the 8th. So we'll move the classes to the 12th and the 15th. Is okay? But other than that, everything stays the same. So that's the only change. We'll continue to have Sunday and Wednesday classes until the holiday, and resume after the holiday, starting on the 12th, and then have our last class on the 15th. And that moves the business proposal fair to the 22nd. And that means you'll be happy to hear that your last deliverable for the business proposal gets postponed by a little bit. Dima, do you have something that you want to share with us? Can you close the computer?
Okay.
I want to be only with you.
Okay.
So the other thing I forgot to tell you is Taylor loves attention.
It's all about me. Thank you. So that's the schedule change. So it's okay? All right, and that's all on the website. I feel like I'm forgetting something. Okay, so that's good. So I think you've had a stressful last few days since there's homework for this session. You have a milestone deliverable that you hopefully all turned in by 5:30. So I know you're stressed and maybe frustrated with your teams. Let me tell you that I'm really sorry to say, but it's on purpose. Building good teamwork skills means dealing with team members that don't pull their weight, that don't do all the work that they should. And it's a reflection of what you probably experience in the workplace. And so the purpose of the team project is for you to not only deliver the deliverables, but also to learn how to work better with teams. And I can tell you from my experience at Wharton, we had teams which had much more intense deliverables. And it was one of the best things I got out of the program, was learning how to work with people who have different ideas of quality, who have different ideas that maybe I don't like, and who don't always pull their weight. And so, although right now at this exact moment that might seem frustrating, I think at the end of the program, the teamwork experience that you have will be one of the most valuable experiences. So be patient with your team. Think, how can you learn and adapt from the experience you're having with your team? And use it as an opportunity to learn, because the cost here is very low. The cost in the workplace is very high. So this is a good chance for you, and I encourage you to take advantage of that chance instead of being frustrated with it. But I know right now with your frustration, if you have it, maybe that doesn't say much. So, enough on that topic. Let's talk about my very favorite topic, which is competitive strategy. As I said before, some of this can be very theoretical, and I'm going to try and apply this to a really fun example that I think you'll see. But competitive strategy applies to, as I said, to every single business, whether it's lemonade stand or the business that you're all working on. And you can, and we'll see that. So I won't say too much at this point. But the goal that you should think about when it comes to competitive strategy is, how do businesses create value? And what is value? What does it mean to create value? And how do we as a business be better than other businesses at creating value? So it's a really big question, but there are some really simple answers to it that I think you'll see here that can apply to a lot of different businesses. So let's dive into it. I want to start with an example of selling flowers. So in the United States, there's a big business of buying flowers, bouquets of flowers for family, loved ones online. And in general, I did research on this, the price of buying flowers is $65. So that's the average price to buy flowers online. And it's your wife's birthday, you buy flowers online, it gets sent, and you pay $65. I think it's kind of expensive, but this is a many millions of dollar industry. My question for you is, how much do you think people are willing to pay to send flowers? Do you think it's more or less than $65? I think $65 sounds like a lot. I've still bought flowers online. Are people willing to pay more than $65?
Yes.
Why? Penny?
Because that's the average.
Okay.
So
since this is the average, we know some companies are above this.
Some are able to.
Some are able to, okay.
If you're willing to get something extraordinary, you will pay more than $65.
Okay, all right, yeah.
Convenience.
Yes.
And gift market can have more value. In gifting you can go for higher prices.
Okay. So my question is, what value, when I buy something for $65, what value do I get out of it? If we had to put a dollar value to the value that I get out of buying something for $65, is what I get out of it greater or less than $65 in value? Why? How do we know? Yeah?
It's your wife, then it's your anniversary, it's priceless. You just do it.
Okay.
It's $100 or $65.
Okay,
It's
so
not worth not get like a backlash from who you're gifting, for example. In the case of flowers, this
Yeah.
is usually your mother, it's usually a female. Your mother, your sister, your wife, and that's just disastrous.
So we know the value to the person because it's a high stakes event. We
Yes.
know the value is greater than $65. It must be, right? But let's imagine it's a different product. Let's imagine it's a cupcake for $5. Do we know the great value that the user gets from buying the cupcake is greater than $5?
No, we don't.
Why? Assuming the business is functional and making money. Hassan, what do you think?
I'm saying yeah, because it's probably quality cupcake.
Okay. What else? Yeah, okay, we assume it's a quality cupcake. Why else? The business is making money, right? So certainly people are buying the cupcakes.
There's a demand for it.
Okay.
Extraordinary taste.
Okay. So the whole theory of competitive advantage says that if you have a price for something and you're making money from it, it's because the value that people get from that is greater than the price that they pay. So any product that's being sold, whether it's a cupcake or a flower, as long as the company is profitable, is generating more value than the cost that the person is paying. Osama.
But how would you assess that? Like, I mean, I'm sure there's a formula, but I can't imagine when you do the hospitality business, it's a lot easier to, you just take cost of goods and you multiply it by whatever percent you're trying to make. But how would you do it when cost to produce is a lot lower than like?
How would you figure out what price to
Yeah.
put? So that's a pricing question that there are tons of studies on what the right price to put is. And we won't get into that now. But what I want you to think about now is if the value to the customer, if the value that I get out of these flowers were less than $65, would I pay $65? No, because I would be losing value. I would be giving money to that company. So I propose to you again that every product that exists produces more value than the customer pays for it.
So you connect the price with the value, not with the costs?
We'll talk about the cost for the company in a second, but we're talking about the cost to the customer compared to the value that the customer gets. People believe me?
No, not always.
Okay, Penny, please. I want disagreement. Tell me.
So sometimes you just buy the product because there's no other options that you can get.
Okay, but
That's
even...
monopolistic.
Okay, so when you have no choices, but you still pay for the product, the value that otherwise you wouldn't buy it.
Yeah.
Even if you have no choices, if the value that you assign to the product is less than what you're paying, then why would you buy it? Even if you have no choice, even if there's just one choice in the market.
Sometimes you try to buy a product because you think that it will have eventually a certain value.
Okay.
For example, the Bitcoin market crash and other things like that. There was an electronic Android console, Ouya, if you remember it. It was sold in million copies around the world, and eventually no games were developed for it. So the users bought it, and it was sitting on their shelves.
Okay, so you're saying that's a situation where people bought something, the value that they got
They
out of it,
expected.
that they later got out of it was less. What do people think of that?
But the perceived value at the time of the transaction was greater than the cost of the good.
Can you say that louder?
The perceived value at the time of the transaction was greater than the cost of the good.
Yeah.
So when you bought the product, even though you found out the product is terrible, when you bought the product, you
You had
thought it's more valuable than what I'm going to pay for it. Listen, Isam?
if I'm not satisfied either with the value or my وطنية, but I want to communicate with people. No, I'm unsatisfied with the value they give me, but there's no other option, as she said.
Well, the other option is to not buy it.
I mean, you can still use a household. So the
No.
value is still there because you're still using it and you buy it.
No, I have to communicate with people.
That's a decision.
Except
You've made a decision that the value of you communicating
But I'm
with people,
unsatisfied with this value they give.
they don't care. And neither does competitive strategy, because you just said it. You said it perfectly. You said, I have to communicate. That means even though they give you this crappy service, and even though you hate the service, the value of you having to communicate is greater than the price that you pay. So let's keep moving. But this is the whole basis of competitive strategy, is that what people pay for produces value for them that's greater than what they pay. And if it doesn't do that, they won't pay for it. So it's really obvious, but it took us a long time to understand it. So it's a kind of a strange thing. So in the example of flowers here, I'm going to say that the value is $100. It's an example, but we're just going to go with it for a second. I also did some research. The cost of production of this $65 is about $21. So this is to, I forget, Mavik's point. The cost of production to the company is $21. They charge $65. And good work, they produce value worth $100. So from $21, they managed to produce $100 in value. So if we look at this, now I want to ask you, if we think of this business, this flower producing business, how much value in the world as a company have they produced in dollars? How much value have they created that didn't exist before? This business had some resources, they worked with those resources, and then they produced something that was worth $100 to customers. How much value did they produce in the world?
$35.
35? Why? Is that maybe?
Yeah.
Why 35?
It's
100 minus 65, okay. So you're saying the value is the difference between these
Actually,
two?
maybe 79.
Why?
Because the customers would be still willing to pay the $100.
Okay. Anybody agree or disagree with either of those numbers?
The 100 itself.
Sorry, Isam?
79.
79? Okay, so we have two answers for 70. Well, Hamid has taken many answers. Why 79?
because they paid $100 and it costed the company only $21.
Okay, so they produced
Yeah, I
this.
subtracted the $100 from $21.
And you don't get the question.
No, repeat the question.
Okay, so we want to know, so this company, this flower company came into existence with
Okay.
some materials. They bought some flowers, and they said, I have a great idea, I'm going to sell these flowers. When they sold the flowers, they produced value. My question is, it's a theoretical question, how much value in dollars, how many dollars of value did this company, through its existence, produce? And Usam has suggested $79, which is the difference between 121. Hanin
I agree.
gave that answer, and also the difference between 165. Does that make sense?
The green one. 65 minus 21.
Okay, or it could, okay, the only answer left is 65 minus 21. So let me tell you, to make life easier, it's $79 of value. This is the input. The inputs to their flower business are the flowers and the people and whatever, $21 of inputs. And what from those $21 of inputs that existed in the world before this company, after this company, those same flowers, those same inputs suddenly have $100 in value. So through its existence, this company produced $79 in value. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so now my next question is, if we look at this, which is sort of the model of competitive strategy, how can we produce more value? If we know the total value that we create as a company is the difference between this and this, how can we produce more value?
We can
Yes,
lower
sir.
the cost.
Okay, so one way is lower the cost. That's one quick way to produce. Okay, sorry, hold on, one thing. So this is a really important point. Ruined my whole rhythm. Okay, so we have $79. Forget what I just
Really
said.
an expert, but you really know what he's talking about.
So forget what I said about that. So $79 of value. Now this company is really nice, and it shares some of that value with its customers. It takes some value for itself, and it gives some value to the customers. It kept $44 of value for itself because it cost $21 to produce the product. The customers paid $65, so the company made $45. We know that that's profit. And it gave to the customer $35 of value. So what is the maximum price that the customer would be willing to pay for the flowers?
100.
And how much value would the customer get?
Zero.
Right. And how much value would the company get?
79.
Right. So every business in the entire world can be simplified into this formula, which is different businesses that compete with each other, share value with customers in different ways by increasing or lowering prices. When they increase the price, they take value away from the customers and keep it for themselves. When they decrease the price, they give more value to the customers and keep less for themselves. You have a
Yeah.
question on your face.
Sometimes when you lower the price, you also lower the complete value. For example, the branding value of the product you're serving.
Right, exactly. So there are a lot of questions here about how products can, through the perception of price, which can affect a consumer's quality of the product. Sure, for sure. It's a good point. But you had a quizzical look in your
No, that
also him.
Yeah, I'm not really getting the numbers stuff. I don't think it's working like value with
dollars.
With dollars.
Yeah. Okay. So there's another example I did with this is when Apple launched the iPhone. They had to figure out how much money the iPhone should cost, which is a really complicated question. And in the presentation that Steve Jobs gives introducing the first iPhone, he says, we know that they have, what's the music player thing? iPod.
iTunes.
iPod. The thing that plays music. Right, the iPod. The thing that plays music, we know they have that, and we know that they also have a phone. And an iPhone is basically a combination of these two things. We know they pay, what is it, $200 for the iPhone, or for the music thing? iPod, and another $100 or $200 for the phone. So we think the value that they assign to this product is those two together, so it should be $400. And that's how they priced the product. I'm sure they did more analysis than that, but the reality is, it's possible to know in numbers how much value we assign a product. And that's the formula that they use. I'm sure they did more sophisticated things. But yes, this number exists. And in every business that prices a product, they ask this question: what's it worth to our customers? Any other questions till now? Okay, so now back to my previous question: how do we create more value? So we already heard one way, which is to reduce costs. So if you push this bar down, then this thing increases, so you produce more value. What's another way to produce value then? If it's not increasing cost?
Like they just forgot the marketing lecture the other.
Apparently, you didn't listen to Omar.
Wow.
Yeah.
increase the cost of production and keep the price the same. That way the user will get more value from the same material.
Okay, the user gets more value, but we want to increase this number.
Increase the
It's on.
Increase the $79 value. The company receives $79 as profits. They can decrease it to 75. But this way they will increase the value for customers $4.
Okay, all right. Maybe you're busy.
Maybe adding features so the license will increase on customer.
Oh, right. Increase the customer's willingness to pay.
Anyone that took marketing with me at any time ever, hang your heads in shame.
I've been saying this 3 times.
Keep changing your answers.
He puts all the answers. Right, so the second way is to increase the customer's willingness to pay. So these two ways, reduce costs, increase customers' willingness to pay, are the only ways in all of business for all businesses to create more value. It's a pretty big deal, right? I mean, that's like no small thing. Either reduce cost or increase the value to the customer. There is no other way to produce value in business.
You can do both at the same time.
Or do both. You can pick both. You don't have to pick one or the other.
You can do both at the same time.
It's better if you can, if you want this to be as big as possible. So if you can reduce costs and increase willingness to pay, more power to you. It's even stranger though that there's no business strategy that isn't one of these two in the entire world. And a lot of people have thought, who are a lot smarter than me, have thought really, really hard about this. And this is what they came to, but it's kind of an incredible thing. Any questions on that? We're going to do an example now. Okay, so that's the definition of competitive advantage. This guy, Michael Porter, a professor at Harvard University, you have an article from him. He's the guy who sort of laid out this entire theory, and it says that basically the companies create value. The value is the difference between the customer's willingness to pay and the value and how much the company pays to produce it, and that there are only two ways to produce more value: by decreasing costs or increasing customers' willingness to pay. That's competitive advantage in 20 minutes.
I have a question.
Please.
So, say for example, I'm increasing the customer's willingness to pay by adding a feature. How do I calculate, say the feature is an additional cost to my production, or it takes human resources or whatever.
Sure.
So how do I...
Yeah, well, you would calculate the increased cost, which will increase this bar, and then you're going to have an increased willingness to pay, so it'll increase this bar. So maybe you didn't do so well.
Yeah, so I could possibly have increased, like, lost.
Right, for sure.
Because so the second one is much harder to do.
It depends on the business. It depends on the business. If you're producing cars, adding features can be cheaper than producing them. Okay. In businesses that you're all proposing in this room, I would recommend adding features and not reducing costs, because reducing costs means firing a programmer.
But if your main service takes human labor or human service, then it's less profitable.
I don't know. I'm sure somebody has studied that. So in businesses that are more human labor intensive, are they less? I don't know.
Okay.
It's an interesting question. Perhaps somebody's looked at it. Not sure if you had a point.
No, I was going to say that once you've already increased the willingness to pay, I mean, you can later, because you already found the formula to, make them pay more, you can then reduce the cost afterwards. So, in the long term,
especially with economies of scale, as you produce more and more, you can reduce the costs. Okay. Any other questions on all competitive strategy? Yeah.
So if we say, if we talk about the smartphone industry, we say that they're really, the research and development is really costing them more, and the prices are the same. Okay, so the value the company keeps is decreasing, and the value the customer keeps is like increasing with on the same price. So it just makes them stay in the market.
Yeah, so I would call this a dying industry. If you have to produce more and more, if you have to spend more and more money in order to produce the same value to the customer, then you should be investing in R&D so you can launch new products that have that produce greater value. But yeah, I mean, defending this over time and defending this over time is hard. And actually, we'll see that. That'll be the main point of the next section. Last point is some.
And the inflationary market, how do we avoid this? The same.
In an inflationary market? So that's, I don't know. So I think, cost of production should increase at pace, hopefully with the cost of the value that the user assigns to the product, but usually users don't feel inflation as much as it's actually happening. So I would guess that inflation would increase the cost of production faster than it decreases value. Tough questions, guys. This is good. So let's keep moving.
30 minutes.
We're good. So next, we're going to do a thing from this TV show. Do you guys know this TV show? What's it about?
It's
about sharks.
Yeah, and they invest in people.
Investors,
Yeah.
People pitching ideas, trying to get the investors to invest in their ideas.
Yeah, okay.
Businesses.
I saw most of the...
Good, so you guys are very familiar with Shark Tank. Okay, so does anybody not know what Shark Tank is? Okay. So it's a program, it's like trying to get an investment. People come and they make a quick pitch, and then investors on the spot decide whether to invest money or not. Okay, so let me make sure I covered. Okay, so I made this clip. Let me make sure I stop at the right point. Okay, here we go.
First into the tank is an entrepreneur who believes he has a better way to send a thoughtful gift.
This is how Sidara works.
Hello, Sharks. I'm John, and I'm so excited to introduce to you today the world's most genuine online floral solution, the Books Company. I'm here seeking an investment of $258,000 in exchange for 3% of our business. Now, just by way of introduction, I'm a Pittsburgh-born guy who knows how to make a lot of money, Mr. Wonderful, selling lovely flowers to be sent to the lovely people in our lives. Lori and Barbara, these are for you.
What a schmoozer. Man after my own heart.
That's our Desperado bouquet. Just our diamonds.
You know how to suck up to me, baby, and I love it.
Are those real or are they fake?
They're real.
They're made
Oh, wow, they smell great.
So this business is working because there are really major consumer pain points in this industry. It says $19.99, you check out at $64.50. What's up with that? Bait and switch product. You see a photo? It's not what arrives. And this is flowers. This is supposed to feel good. There's a solution, and the solution is Books. Books are bouquets simplified. Now there's 3 things that we do to really make our business special. The first, we have one price. It's $40. $40 including shipping. There are no care and handling charges. And we also don't try to sell you a cheesy plastic butterfly or some balloons that just degrades the experience. The second thing we do differently is we ship straight from eco-friendly, sustainable farms located on the equator on the side of a volcano. Seriously, that's the volcano. It also means you get a really fresh stem because it comes straight from the farm. The third and final thing we do differently is our concierge service. You can schedule an entire year's worth of deliveries, birthdays, anniversaries, important business dates. We take care of it for you, and we do it all at a discount. Business is blooming. Let's get you guys out of the water and onto the volcano. Who's with me as we build the next big flower brand at the Books Company?
Okay, so that's the guy's pitch. Sorry, we'll be back and forth. All right, so what's the idea? Flowers, okay.
Naked flowers.
What's that?
Naked flowers.
Naked flowers.
Extra.
Okay, none of the extra crap, yeah?
Set price.
Fixed price, good. What else?
Consistency.
Okay, tell me more.
I mean, you created an ideal vision for each product and made sure that the consumer was going to get the exact same thing.
Okay, right. So what you click on online is exactly what you receive. There's no bait and switch, as you put it. What else?
Yeah, no consumer value.
Why?
No handling.
No hustle.
No hustling. Okay, so with the price that you see on the first page is the price that you pay on the last page. Good. What else?
Direct from the farm.
Right. And what about the farms? Eco-friendly, sustainable, blah 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 farms. And where's the farm? On a volcano. Cool. Okay. All right. Anything else? So everybody got what the pitch is about. It's pretty straightforward. He's selling flowers with an angle. It's one fixed price. What you pay for, what you see is what you get, and they're eco-friendly. Blah blah blah. Okay. So. That's the basic idea. Now what we want to do is apply this same thing to our model of competitive strategy. So now we already talked about the overall flower industry here. I made up this number of $100. We don't know if it's true or not. For now we'll say it's true. We know customers on average pay $65. We know the cost of production is $21. These numbers are real. Businesses on average create about $80 in value. How much is this guy charging? 40 bucks. So we're going to do the same analysis. So he's charging $40. So we already know that his price is lower than the industry average. So there's an opportunity to charge, to capture more value here. We'll see though. I want to make sure I cover this.
Until the volcano erupts.
Until the volcano erupts. Okay, all right, so now we'll continue the video.
What's about the business? The business is essentially an e-commerce business. We launched this business about 11 months ago. This year to date, he's done $700,000 in sales with almost no marketing budget.
Wow, good for you. What are you attributing your success to?
I think people were ready for something that feels a little different in this space. Some of our roses will last in your home 3 weeks. And
Why
people
is
tweet about that, people talk about it.
What do you attribute that to?
So my co-founder JP's background in biology has come in very handy. We actually have a proprietary process that we use to hydrate the flowers. And then the other thing is you're getting these flowers 4 or 5 days after they were cut. Whenever you're at a local florist, they're just by definition, because it takes so long for them to get there, then they have to hold that inventory, just much older flowers.
What does the
Okay, so we heard some stuff that sounded kind of competitive advantage-ish. What is the advantage here to consumers?
Last 3 weeks.
Okay, so the flowers last. Some of the flowers. Why some of the flowers?
We said some of the flowers.
Okay, all right, I didn't catch that. And what else does he have in terms of competitive advantage?
It's got biology.
He has a
He's got
more-
proprietary.
Different website, different feeling. Seems
Okay.
like
He has IP.
What's the IP? What is
the
IP?
watering system? It's intellectual property.
Okay, and what is the IP?
That proprietary watering process that he has. That was just
So this guy has a proprietary watering process. There's a watering process that nobody else knows about, and he has some hotshot biologist. Okay, and how's business going? He's making a lot of money, this guy. In only a few months, he's managed to make quite a bit of money. So what does that tell us about where this customer's willingness to pay should be?
higher
Why?
because he had managed to make so much money in a short period without marketing.
Right, so he's making money, and perfect markets tell us he must be producing more value. So here we know that he's producing more value than his competitors because people are choosing him over other businesses. So things are looking pretty good here for this business. So let's continue watching.
$40 bouquet cost you?
We're at 40 to 50% gross margins on the smallest
That
size,
is important.
just much older flowers.
What does the $40 bouquet cost you?
We're at 40 to 50% gross margins on the smallest size. When we get up to the triple bouquets, we're closer to the 50% end of that range. We started the company actually.
Okay. All right, so we got some more information about the cost. What's the cost?
50%.
40-50% he said, so we'll say 45%, that works out to $18. So he has a slight cost advantage over his competitors. Nothing to be too excited about. This could be a rounding error, could be a lot of issues there. But this, first of all, it's a really boring business that we just applied a really exciting competitive strategy model to. But this is the core of what every single business needs to do. Think about what is your industry doing and what can I do better in my industry. This guy has produced more value by reducing costs by a little bit and by delivering more value to customers. He created $82 in value, and because he's a nice guy, he's sharing $22 of value with the customers by offering a lower price, and he's keeping, $22 for himself and giving at least $60 of value to the customers. Good? Makes sense? Okay, now we'll watch the rest of the video.
With my co-founder, his name's JP Montufar. He's actually on the volcano, which is why he couldn't be here today. And he's the sort of floral farming expert, and I'm more of the front-end operations, marketing, brand side of things.
And explain to us the volcano. I don't know a lot about where different flowers come from. At the bottom of this volcano, are there a lot of very prolific floral farms?
Absolutely.
A very pragmatic investment. I don't care what you're selling. What matters in business is cash flow. That's it. You're asking me to pay 40 times, which would be the absolute premium that I would pay for a much larger company.
But he's growing.
Yeah, but it's a flower business.
Your angle, the thing that I saw is different.
What's his angle?
was
Tell me that.
That it's $40 a bouquet, that's it, no added charges, no shipping and handling, and you can upgrade for $10 to a $50 bouquet.
Okay, one more pause. All right, so now we see things are not going well here, and we're going to try and figure out why. We know that this is the competitive advantage that this guy has created. He reduced cost and increased customers' willingness to pay. Big reason to celebrate. This is competitive advantage is these two areas. And she just did a really good summary of what that competitive advantage is, which is, again, consistency of price. It's $40. What else?
You can increase.
Sorry?
She said that you can upgrade.
Right, and so there's this
There's still
advantage of
room to-
upgrading,
yeah.
so there's room to grow. So that's the competitive advantage that's in these two squares. So when you think about starting a business, you want to think about how can you produce those purple areas. But there's more. You don't just want to produce those purple areas, you want to defend them.
He can't defend.
And that's what we're about to see, is can this guy defend these? He's created competitive advantage. He's making a lot of money, but can he defend that competitive advantage? And that's the big question here. So when an investor is listening to a pitch, they're looking for, have you created competitive advantage? Yes. But the second question is that competitive advantage sustainable? So let's see how this turns out.
My problem is, all your competition can do exactly what you said if they like the idea and the strategy. So for me, I think that this doesn't have an edge anymore over any other floral company. I'm out.
All right, look, $258,000 for 3%. I mean, it's such a small, irrelevant amount to what you've already raised. I have a challenge with that. And I don't know if your competitive advantage is sustainable. I'm out.
I want to address the name of your business. I think it's a terrible name. It's hard to spell, hard to remember. If you gave me a spelling test, it would take me 10 times to really get it. I'm out.
As usual, all roads back to Mr. Wonderful. I tell you, John, there's one problem with your deal. You are crazy expensive. I think the risk in your deal is not executional risk. It sounds like you know what you're doing. It's exit risk. You have to be acquired by a strategic.
Very true.
You're in the Neverland. You're in a place where it's not that attractive, and you didn't really differentiate yourself against the commodity other than to tell me you're a better marketer. That may be true, but I think you may die of old age waiting to exit. But there's another problem. If I want to send flowers to your grave, I have to wait 6 days. And I think you died here today. I'm out.
Well, I very much appreciate all of your time and your input, and thank you so much for having me.
Good luck, John.
Thank you for the flowers.
You're welcome.
Oh, he has a funny comment.
Kevin sending flowers to my grave was a really funny comment, but he forgot that we offer overnight shipping in California, so they can show up to my grave right on time.
Okay, so they didn't invest in the guy in the end. Why?
It was obvious.
It's expensive. It's 3%.
Okay, right, so I cut this clip. There's a whole conversation in this clip about valuation. There's a huge valuation problem here. Setting that aside, why else didn't they invest? I mean,
It's obvious that the business won't succeed on the long run
why? No, it's it.
because his competitive strategy can be easily mimicked by other competitors and then he would lose it.
Yeah, okay, what were you saying?
Yes, the same point. He can sustain his competitive advantage.
Who disagrees?
He has the IP, the watering system.
Right, so what about this like magical watering system? Why is that not sustainable competitive advantage? Sounds great. Yep.
People don't care if the flowers last 3 weeks as much as they care at the point that he made up last that if I want to send somebody flowers, probably the same day that I
Right.
need to.
People buy flowers for the
What I
next
said
day.
earlier, convenience.
Yeah. What do you think?
I think he has also the eco-friendly farm.
Okay, what about that? What about eco-friendliness? You know, we're coming from organic farms.
Everybody's
on a
eco-
volcano.
They asked the question, they're all over.
Everybody's eco-friendly.
I don't know. If you're buying some flowers for your wife and it's her birthday tomorrow, I don't care where it comes from. And they do it, right, that's being launched in 6 weeks or something. But those are flowers from California, which is not in this clip. So it loses the whole volcano thing.
Then there's the exit.
And the exit. So what I would love to dive into all the valuation issues here, which could be is a bigger problem in my mind. But you saw all the investors hit on sustainability and competitive advantage. What's his angle? So after his whole pitch, they didn't get what was the advantage. All your competition can do exactly what you said if they like the idea of the strategy. How quickly can they do a one flat $40 price? Tomorrow they can do it. I don't know, this person is like a dream for me to directly refer to competitive advantage being sustainable, and then you didn't really differentiate yourself against the commodity other than to tell me you're a better marketer. So, what should you take away from this? It's that you want to create competitive advantage, but you also want to figure out how to hold on to it. That's the sustainability of competitive advantage. So very quickly, so what they're worried about is that competitors are just going to produce the same value that he was producing.
So they were forgetting just to do this graphs and calculations.
Sorry?
For the judge, they do this graphs and calculations in there.
Probably not. I doubt it.
How they can see the figure just seconds and
investors are programmed to think. This is
the investors.
Yeah, they're all, those people are all investors. They invest their own personal money.
They do some calculations quickly.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, sure. I mean, on the valuation you did. Yeah. And they're sharp people. They're on TV.
Also, it's a stage.
Two billionaires on the panel.
How am I doing? Oh, okay, so much time. Okay, good. Okay. So now this guy, Michael Porter, who discovered, you can say, this whole theory on competitive advantage, he also did a lot of research on the sustainability of competitive advantage, which is really the most important thing you can take away from today is, okay, Taylor, I get your pretty graphs, I get your moving numbers, but how do I produce sustainable competitive advantage? There's nothing else more important. You can forget everything I said till now. Do you have it?
Would you have invested in the books?
No, the valuation was crazy. It was $125,000 for 3%. And he was in the, I cut out a ton of stuff. He was in the middle of a round, raising a $1 million round. So there were already committed investors, so you'd be like a small player in a business that has no exit potential. Would you have?
Are you familiar with this? You could not have picked a better company.
I don't even know it. Is it big?
They raised $6 million 4 weeks later. They got 1.7 within 48 hours after the show. And I think I heard they did $300,000 in sales within 24 hours. And well, I can tell you, I represented 60 of those.
You bought from Boots.com
5 or 6 times in
oh
this
my
year
goodness.
in May.
So why? I mean, we just got
customer service emails. You could not have picked a better company to do this.
So why did you buy from them and not the competitor?
One, the volcano thing I thought was cool.
This guy likes the volcano.
Two, I live in New York City, where I can buy flowers on a corner for $25, or flowers at a high-end flower shop for $150.
Okay.
Those are the 2 price points.
All right.
These were nicer than the 25 and less expensive than the 150.
Okay, so this is great. I'm so happy that we have an actual customer of this random example that I
You could not pick a better company.
I would definitely argue, though, that this is not sustainable. Flowers.com, 1-800-Flowers could all do this tomorrow. They can't do the volcano thing, but they could produce this price scheme very quickly.
Dude, you can get a volcano anywhere.
Nobody does that.
However, Flowers.com and some of these others are publicly traded companies. So when you talk about, and the one thing that I'm not going to debate you with, but that we didn't discuss was market share.
It's good to argue.
Right? It was market share. So if you decrease cost, decrease cost to the consumer, increase production cost, although your margins are shrinking, you're picking up more margin share, which has some, much better than has some impact on the valuation.
Yes, so as an investment opportunity, all the facts that you gave, I think, make for a really nice cash flow model. As a long-term investment, though, there's no sustainable competitive advantage here, except the crazy, I want to know more about the biologist, and I want to know more about this watering technique and the volcano.
Plus, Taylor, if I can, there's no back-end money on the shrinking margin. So you could take an industry like cigarettes or candy or something where there's there's promotional allowances given to retailers and wholesalers for volume. With this, even if the volume increases, there's no cushion that's going to come back on the back end. So that cash flow is going to come down over time. I think. I mean, based on this model, the way it's set up right now.
I mean, the guy's making money, it's hard to argue with. But all businesses over time lose their competitive advantage. Every business in the entire world is going to lose competitive advantage over time. So it depends on your investment strategy. If you're looking to make money tomorrow, if you're a private equity firm looking to make money quickly, you should invest. If you have a 10-year investment horizon, this is probably not a good idea. So it depends on the investor strategy as well.
But isn't it also about selling a brand? Like you build a brand with a story and, like we said, that kind of interesting edge and whatever. So you kind of sold an image more than you sold the product.
Okay, this is a really important point. Hold on to this just for 1 second. We're going to come back to that. I want to talk about sources of competitive advantage. There are 3 of them, and that's one of them that falls into the 3 categories I'm going to talk about. The first is assets and capabilities. This is equipment that you have, skills that you have, IP, patents, some volcano, some proprietary watering technique. Those are all in the assets and capabilities category. This is one source of sustainability and competitive advantage.
What about customers' segments? If they were targeting segment customers, the customers who buy clothes.
So a marketing strategy, like your segmentation strategy, probably is not a source of competitive advantage. Certainly not sustainable because anyone could copy it. A second source of, let me talk about the third one that's easier to understand, is people. The scientist. You know, anytime, especially VC, anytime they meet a team, they want to know the most information about the team. This is your best source of competitive advantage, especially in tech startups. And then the last thing is this weird thing called governance. And this is about company culture. This is about things that you do in your company that make people happier in your company than they would be anywhere else. And it's a huge source of competitive advantage. So this guy, in the assets category, competitive advantage, we know he's got the scientist, we know he has the proprietary watering technique. He has, Hussam, you picked a terrible time to look at your phone. One of the other advantages he has in this category is his brand. In his story, which is about this organic mountain volcano thing. And then he has, in this category, the crazy scientist. So, now the good stuff. So I'm going to just throw at you the big list of sources of competitive advantage. And this list is not exhaustive, but a lot of people have studied about this. I'll go through them very quickly. Strong R&D capabilities, so that's being able to come up with new watering techniques. Access to intellectual property, that's the watering technique itself. Distribution rights. Do you have some kind of exclusive arrangement with flowers.com that you will be the sole provider of volcanic flowers? That's a huge source of competitive advantage, and it's sustainable. Ownership of capital. Do you have a special machine? Like an olive press in Palestine is a big, owning one because they're expensive is a big source of competitive advantage. Product and customer support, low cost, high volume production. Can you scale up production very quickly compared to your competitors? Economic factors. Are you in a country that has a really cheap labor rate? That's a big source of competitive advantage. Or a country that has a tightly controlled currency also can produce competitive advantage. Data management capabilities, strong marketing strategies. So related to segmentation, if you discover a segment, that can be a source of competitive advantage. Not very sustainable. Access to working capital. This is why Microsoft and Google have millions and millions of dollars just sitting around in their bank accounts, because that's money that they can use to do research that nobody else can. Barriers to entry or monopoly. So have you made it really difficult for other people to get in your industry? People. And then I want to talk about governance once more, which is this scientist guy. We have to make sure that the value that the scientist produces is not the same as the value he produces if he moves to another company. So in other words, we have to make it so there's some special relationship between the scientist and the culture of my company. Maybe that's by having him around other really smart people. Maybe that's by giving him stock options. Maybe that's by giving him a really nice office. But in order to sustain competitive advantage with people, you have to make it so the value that they add to your company cannot be easily moved to another company. So if I quit my job today and go to another company tomorrow, my brain should be less value at that other company because of some special relationship I have with the company that I'm at now. It's a really important point to understand in tech businesses that people need to be happy, and you need to figure out how you can make them uniquely happy in your business so that if they quit and go somewhere else, they don't produce the same value. And that's it. With 1 minute left, how perfect. So that's a very quick introduction to competitive strategy. As I said, a topic I love. Hopefully this gives you a quick overview of the key factors. Now we're going to talk about the other aspect of competitive strategy, which is Porter's 5 forces. So I'll give a really quick introduction there, because I assume you all did the homework. Assuming you did, the most important thing to know for Porter's 5 forces is it's not analysis on a company, it's analysis on an industry. And the question Porter's 5 forces answers is how much profit is there in this industry? In the industry. So this model will tell you, in general, why is the airline industry so not profitable? It's one of the least profitable industries. Porter's 5 forces tells you why. It does not tell you why one company in that industry is not as profitable. It gives you hints, it gives you suggestions, but it's really about industry analysis. Why is that useful to you? As entrepreneurs, before you launch a product, you should think about the industry in which you're launching it, and what are the challenges that you'll face in that industry. Questions? You have this, your face says everything about what you're thinking. Tell me.
It's nothing, I'm just thinking.
If you have any questions.
No, I would, don't worry.
All right. Okay, so that's Porter's 5 forces. Stop. So who wants to go first?
What are we doing first, Matt?
Your Porter's 5 forces presentation. So did any team really not do it at all, period? At all? All right, well, then you'll have one hell of a time up here. Okay. So Yusuf, come on up. So there are 2 teams that didn't do it? All right. I don't like that. Yep, sure, whatever you want. What is that? It's in where?
It's Google Docs.
So what the first of the 5 forces is industry rivalry. What does that mean? Okay, that's a different force. Okay.
The current competition.
Okay, yeah. So threat of rivalry is how intense is the competition. What else? Who read the Porter's 5 forces stuff?
Nice.
Okay. All right, Sundar, right?
Yeah.
So tell us just tell us in general, what did you learn from what you read?
Porter's 5 forces model talks about having the 5 different forces that each has effect on the business and on the industry.
Okay.
Starting with new entrants.
Okay, threat of new entrants. So let's talk about threat of new entrants. What does that mean?
How easy it is for somebody else?
Restaurant?
How easy it is for someone else to enter into the market?
Okay, so the software industry, operating systems. What's the threat of new entrants for that?
Very, very low.
Why?
Because you have 3 or 4 of them that have just taken over the market and they just wipe out everybody.
Okay, I would argue that it's actually the threat of new entrants. Yes, it's low. I thought you said high. So yeah.
No.
So operating system industry, threat of new entrants is very low. All right, so you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, we'll come back to it. So let's hear. Tell us what is your product, because I bet the other teams haven't heard.
So what app is a mobile app? So we speak about the mobile app industry.
What is the mobile app? What does it do?
the mobile app is called Am I Overpaying? In which you enter how much you pay for internet services, and it will give you information how many people are paying this value in your area, in your company, in your worldwide.
Give us an example. An example.
For example, if I enter, I pay $50 for internet services. Can tell me that 15 of your friends paying less than you, 100 people in your city buying less than you, or 1 million in the world buying less than you, and it can also offer you a tip or a discount or a deal to a company that can give you a better offer.
Does it make sense? Everybody got it?
But in my
So it's a service that tells you if what you're paying for, say, internet, is higher or lower than what other people are paying for internet, and if it's higher, then there are offers to get you to sign up for other services.
Okay, but in my presentation, as I understand, I speak only in general about mobile app, not in
Okay,
price
alright.
comparing or something like that.
Okay, fine. Oh.
What was the rule about
Should I answer?
So here are the 5 rules.
So tell us what is the industry that you define?
Mobile apps. Develop mobile apps from the perspective of a new developer or company that want to launch a new app.
Okay. All right. So mobile apps.
In general.
All mobile apps. Very broad.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Go for it.
So if we speak about the buyout power in mobile app, we can see that switching cost is low. Buyer can move from one app to another app easily. Customer loyalty or trust with the developer is very low. He is very low stickiness. He doesn't know who is behind this app. There is no stickiness between the developer and the customers. And the buyers, the people who download the app, also exposed to buyer information. They can see the reviews, they can see the rating with others giving the app. So we consider the buyer power to be the threat, the buyer power to be valid.
Anyone disagree?
Supplier powers. As the developer.
So who are the suppliers in the mobile app industry?
And from the perspective of a developer, who is the providers of cloud services, IT infrastructure, or the Android platforms.
So in this industry, who's the biggest supplier? Who's the most important supplier in the mobile app?
Android platforms.
So the Android or iOS service is the biggest supplier to mobile app developers.
From this perspective, every supplier, Android, iOS, are interesting in their customers more than customer interesting in they all even give advantages to developer to use their tools to contribute their apps to their app store. From the perspective of tools, hosting, there are a lot of cloud services available. One can turn from one service to another easily. There is a lot of competition between the suppliers, so the power of suppliers is considered relevant.
Good people. Really? Nobody disagrees.
They are giving service for free.
So if the supplier is Android or iOS, our question is how much, as a mobile app developer, how much power does that supplier have?
Everything.
Not a lot.
Everything. In the App Store submitting process, there's a lot of guidelines from Apple, and sometimes they even pull apps from the store, even if after it hits the store.
What do you guys think of that?
Pinpoint's a good example.
I want to let them figure it out. Ashraf?
Pinpoint's a good example.
Why?
I mean, they tried to go to the iOS market. They got rejected because of certain guidelines.
What's Pinpoint? Tell us more.
They have a game called Spermania, and they got rejected because of the fact that it was something that they believe was sexual in nature.
So what was the supplier power here? The supplier power is extremely high.
Access to market.
Yeah. So I would argue the supplier power is like the only thing that matters if you're a mobile app developer.
Not the
In my,
It's an exaggeration, but it's extremely important. Very much.
I consider here the suppliers of cloud services, IT hosting, something like that, and tools, IT, and not major services.
Okay. So there's a missing
supplier
supplier.
of people of tools that you use to develop your product.
Okay. All right. Let's keep moving.
Substitute products. Also, we consider this also a high rate because it's low cost to move between one app to another. Most of the apps are have the same look and feel because most of them are using the standard design, but the standard they use standard components, design components.
Right.
So there is no learning curve between moving from one app to another app. Most of the price is almost the same between apps. It's not free, so we consider this
Good. Okay.
new entrance. This market is very easy to enter without a lot of requirements, but new entrants have the problem of building a new network and to gain customers with. They want to build a new, they want to offer something different to win. For example, I can offer another video sharing that has a lot more function than YouTube, but definitely I will not compete with them.
Okay. Good. I think that's.
And the new entrant need to build a new, need to establish a brand. So we consider this as medium to hard.
Okay.
It's easy to enter, so it's between medium and hard.
And so what is intensity of rivalry again? From all those who did the reading?
Very intense.
What does it mean though? What does it mean to say intensity of
There's
rivalry?
a lot of competitors in the market.
Okay, what else? So intensity of rivalry could mean a lot of competitors. Are there any industries where there are...
Supplying similar products and services.
Okay. Can anyone think of an industry that has only a few competitors? So few companies, but where industry rivalry is very high?
Joab,
Yeah, I find it.
Why Joel?
because they had a monopoly up until what point?
Okay, so with Joel there are two primary companies, and why is the rivalry high?
Because people kind of wanted to go with, like, move away from Joab because it was a monopoly and wanted to go with the newer, kind of the new person
Okay.
on the block.
But in the industry in general, in mobile telephone networks, why is the intensity of rivalry high?
They're competing for the same customers, and especially those that work in the truck, they don't really live in the options.
Okay, so now a non-growing customer base. Why else?
The products are similar.
Right. If I want to start a mobile company, is it easy?
Oh, the license.
Why?
Very high cost.
It's really expensive. Super, super expensive. So this is not an industry that's easy to enter. You have to spend millions of dollars. Once I put millions of dollars into an industry, suddenly I care a lot about the industry. So in Porter's Five Forces, if it's an industry where there are few players, but they had to pay a lot of money to get into the industry, this means it has a very high rivalry. It's a high rivalry industry. Make sense? Okay. All right. So intensity of rivalry in the mobile app business.
We consider this to be medium to high because there is a lot of solutions to the same problem. A lot of apps solve the same day. But on the other side, we are as users we can use multi-solution and use all of them. For instant messaging, I'm using WhatsApp, Viber. I'm not only using only one app. That's meaning they're competitive. This is what I mean. Make it medium to high. Let's say you don't need to offer everything and to be the only solution. You still can be in the market even though there's another major players.
Good. Okay. I think that was all five, right?
That is.
All right. Thank you very much. Who wants to go next? Who wants to go next? Who Who else did it? Before you jump into it.
SmartShop is basically a mobile application that's going to facilitate a virtual interface for online and in-store consumerism that's done through the mobile app. The purpose for it is to save consumers time and money, or at a point where they do need to save time and money. We basically offer and time consolidate a number of services to complement what would otherwise be an everyday chore.
Can you give us an example?
For example, if somebody is disabled, they can't make it to the shop, they'd be able to scroll, like, depending, I mean, it'd be different services, like, just based on the user's needs. So, something could be deaf-friendly or blind-friendly, just have to be.
Does everyone get it?
So it just be, depending on the clientele, that's one.
So somebody goes and does that chore for you, or what?
No, it's done through the mobile app. So like, it offers different kinds of user interface to accommodate that specific person.
Everyone get it?
It's only too old.
Will the user go to the store or it's online?
This is the thing. If it's online and you want to go pick it up, you can do that. If you want to get it delivered, you can also have that done as well.
Okay, so both.
Yeah.
Other questions? Yeah, everyone understands?
I didn't understand actually. But like, is it so what's the difference between that and say eBay, for example? Are you just
Well, this is locally and focusing on like grocery stores for now.
Grocery stores.
And the thing is with eBay is there's no storefront. So like I'm gonna be using different outlets that are location specific. So like I'm gonna give each person or each market a territory, for example, and they're gonna be my outlet for that geographic. They're gonna have that geographic presence. It's gonna be kind of like a bidding thing, depending on how much they're willing to give us from profit.
So how I understand it, as an example, I'm an elderly person and I have my shopping list and I physically go to the store, but I don't want to pick things physically off of the shelf. So I have my shopping list and I scan the things as I shop. That's the latest that I saw.
If you want to go in the store and
okay.
If not, then you can actually do it from home. And then if you're planning on passing by, or let's say you're at work and you're on your way home, you can either pick it up or have somebody deliver it.
Or have it. Perfect. Okay. So I think it's clear now, right? Okay. All right. So Porter's 5 Forces. What's your industry?
Our industry is going to be, I guess, providing a service for any consumer-based product.
Providing a service for any consumer-based product. What do people think?
E-commerce?
E-commerce. Okay.
E-commerce.
Not really.
E-commerce is a little bit broad.
Retail is local source and
Which retail?
Who do we think of as competitors in this industry? Whatever the industry is.
There's a lot of shops that can deliver products to you just by phone calling them.
Okay. All right. So what's our industry then?
Markets in general.
Sorry?
Retail markets.
Retail markets. Okay. So I don't think there's a clear answer here, but what I really want you to walk away with is when you do Porter's 5 Forces, most of your work should be, and that's why I had as one of the homework things, most of your work is how do I define the industry? Because it will change everything. So here, your analysis is based on, what was it again? It was very broad. What's the industry?
It's kind of hard to really define. I guess it's retail, it's e-commerce, and I guess facilitating some kind of concierge service for people which
Okay, all right, let's
exactly
go with it. Industry rivalry.
Yeah, and then we said threat of new entrants, threat of substitute products, bargaining power suppliers, bargaining power providers. So in our current market, there's something that's kind of similar in one of the functions, but not totally. It doesn't encompass everything, and it's actually not very active right now because it provides one specific and kind of cheap or thrifty kind of way of going. It's called Offer Z. It's supposed to list a bunch of different deals and coupons and I don't know what. And because its primary function is giving discounts and best offers, our app would be more effective because the actual focus itself is complementing an experience and expediting a client purchase than trying to sell somebody those discounts and those coupons. But it's just
Okay. So when we look at industry rivalry, we're looking at competitors. And so who are the competitors in this market?
I mean, we would be fighting, I guess, with specific storefronts who have these kind of services, which is not, they're not around right now.
Okay.
I'm talking about a local market.
Who else do we think? Somebody else said a competitor?
And the one shampoo base.
Okay, but people who do this service now. Any what was here? Sorry?
Rockduck, Store E.
Okay, Store E, Rockstock, and the stores, many stores themselves deliver. So when we look at industry rivalry, we want to know how much do competitors in that industry care about the industry. So if your competitors are those and the stores themselves that deliver, what's the intensity of rivalry?
Because I mean, they don't, I'm guessing, do they have mobile applications? Yes.
Yeah.
They do it here.
They're working.
Oh, they're working. Okay, well, if they were to, I mean, then I guess it's the same idea.
Yeah. So I would argue the rivalry of the industries, if for example, the stores themselves deliver, the rivalry would be very high because there are a lot of those stores and they care a lot about that business. It's something that's
So one of the main strengths that I think we were trying to do is, besides facilitating that kind of concierge service and personalized shopping list and making that experience easier, we were going to introduce a new stream of revenue for each place. So the people who would win the bids to represent or become our outlets would get a cut of any kind of in-store advertisements we would do or mobile application advertisements that we would be able to sell.
Okay. Let's keep moving.
So basically, I thought that the problem that we have right now, we'd have to introduce a culture of online shopping that we don't really have here because, I mean, I feel like we don't have it.
So about how easy is it for new companies to enter? So how easy is it for new companies to enter this industry?
We have something that's user friendly and it has more than one function. It has more
Is
than
it
one
easy
function.
for new companies to enter this industry?
I mean, if you create a network off the bat.
Very hard. Very hard. Why?
Because it's something that any developer can just put together and make a website. So it's any developer who has the skills to do it.
What is the biggest? What's the challenge? What makes entering this market more difficult? There's one thing I can think of. What cost?
The cost of entering this market is relatively low.
The stores themselves actually making the agreements with them.
Yeah.
Right.
And your competitive advantage is not that hard to.
Yes, so?
I think locally here, not everybody uses credit cards.
So this makes entering easier or difficult?
Because you're entering the market which...
Okay, all right, that's a fair point. If you can figure out the credit card issue. Last point?
He can be the first in the market for his kind of service, so he can establish, link this service to his own brand. So it will be difficult for anyone else to follow and establish another brand.
Okay, there may be some advantages to being the first one to enter here. One point I think is that you have to have a connection to inventory management systems, which is not an easy thing to do. And if you create this connection, that creates a barrier to entry that would make it more difficult for new companies to enter. But in general, I agree. I think the threat of new entrance is extremely high. So we have to finish this now. Should we quickly go through the...
So like I said...
so substitute products. So what are substitute products here?
So anybody who's going to develop something that's similar to mine.
Okay. What are other? There's another substitute.
I think the substitute product or what Chinese said.
And there's even another substitute. Those are competitors. Competitors are different from substitutes.
But I think this is substitute.
Online.
Taxi driver.
E-commerce.
A taxi driver is a substitute.
E-commerce.
A friend.
A friend? What else is a substitute?
Children go to the store.
Walking to the store. What was it?
Children.
So those are all substitutes, and it's important to distinguish between substitutes and competitors. Another reason it's important to define your industry. Let's move to the next one.
Yeah, basically that's what I was.
Good. All right. Who are our suppliers here?
I mean, it could be like P&G. I mean, it depends on who's buying. I thought for me it was more who's buying the advertisements from you and supplying their products to shops.
Okay.
So it'd be like P&G, Johnson & Johnson.
Okay, and so what is the power of, the bargaining power of those suppliers?
Well, because they have such a wide market, because I guess they're in a bunch of different sectors in the market. By advertising their main brand, they would be, by buying space to advertise their main brand, they would be pushing all of their.
So what is their power on you in the industry?
Their power on me is, I mean,
Is it high or low?
I mean, high.
Extremely high,
Extremely
right?
high, yeah.
I mean, suppliers have a lot of power in this industry.
Can we consider the internet service provider as a supplier?
Why? Go ahead.
Because if we don't have internet connection, we couldn't do this app.
What do people think? Is the internet supplier a supplier?
Yeah.
Indirect.
Yeah.
You need-
So sure, yes,
You
is
need
the answer.
internet.
Not an important one. I mean, electricity provider is a supplier as well, or water.
The supermarket itself could be,
Yeah.
like, they can just develop a website for themselves.
Is this a supplier though?
It could be. Basically, it supplies it's our client.
In his
and
business, is it his client is the supermarket?
It's the users and the supermarket.
So I think what he's
We just-
proposing is to purchase directly from the producer, from like Johnson & Johnson, which is interesting and perhaps not feasible. But in that case, the supermarket
Oh
would
no, I
only
meant
be
to advertise their products through the storefront. So actually, it is the. I mean, that's what we discussed. It was the.
So you'll take it directly from the supermarket?
Exactly, but
Yeah, so yeah,
advertising by bigger companies who have their products in the Apple Store.
All right, let's move the last one, right?
Yeah. So bargaining power of buyers, the success of the app is tied to the frequency of usage and purchasing through the app. So the bargaining power.
Yes. Okay. All right, good work. All right, did any other team prepare something? So there are 3 teams who didn't do their homework. Is that right? So what 2 teams were there? For those?
E and D.
All right, we'll give you bonus dollars for, or should we? No, we'll punish the other teams who didn't do it. People react to punishment more than they do, twice as much as they do to reward. So really, I know today was a tough day because you had the milestones, but it did, this is part of the lesson of this class. It's not just about the content that you get here, but also managing your time and managing your team. And I know that's been an intense experience so far, but I promise that what you get out of it in terms of what you learn will make up for the stress you might be feeling now. So that's everything on competitive strategy. Now, all of you are staying to get feedback, or at least 2 people from each team should be staying to get feedback on their milestone work that they submitted on time at 5:30. Our surprise instructor who will be giving you feedback is none other than Mr. Ferris, who is the CEO of Yamsefe. We're very, very grateful to have him. He's going to be teaching 2 classes in a few weeks.
But he came all the way from his offices in Yamsefe.
He really suffered to come.
I actually heard my phone ringing over there.
I still have internet from you guys. That's how close I
I
am.
always thought you. They come to me like, you're not there, sitting on the stairs outside.
It's true, I got caught. I didn't mind. So anyways, we're really grateful to him. Take advantage of his time. He's read all of your proposals and is ready to give you feedback. So take it seriously. Our next class is on Wednesday. It's going to be a really fun one, even funner than this one. It's going to be on negotiation. You'll actually be negotiating with each other. So get ready. And it will be, where is this session?